How's it going, everybody? I wanted to throw together a recap of day two for Cisco Live 2024. So, some of you saw the video that I shot earlier today after I got back from convention, where I had just taken the written exam for CCDE V3, and it went well. It went my way. I was able to pass, so I was relieved for that. Um, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna share my exact exam details because um, I just never have. To me, it's kind of like uh, parts of it fall under NDA, so non-disclosure agreement. So I just don't want to be putting out, information about that type of stuff. Stay on the up and up with Cisco in that respect and Pearson View. Um, but the passing score is a 767, and I got a 799. So um, they test you in control, data, management plane, and operational design, network design, security design, service design, and business strategy design. So I scored between 67 and 80% overall. So the numbers aren't great, but for only cursory reading the uh, the official certification guide from Zig Ziglar, who happens to be a friend of mine. Now that I've passed the written, reading part of his book and doing some practice tests, um, part of me wants to go to the Cisco store, go buy the DE book, go chase down Zig and be like, bro, sign my book. And I'm sure he would. Yeah, he's just that kind of guy. Um, but anyway, the to put it into terms, um, I in the last, I think it was the last Whiteboard Wednesday that I did. I had the CCNP design, the ENSLD, um, the Designing Enterprise Networks exam pulled up, and that covers a good portion of what I can say I saw on the DE written. Now, I did get 110 questions on the written exam and you had 2 hours. It took me right around an hour and 5 minutes, I think, to answer 110 questions. So, what's that averaging about 2 questions a minute or something like that? So, and I would say the bulk of them, um, probably 70. Mm, I'm not really exactly sure numerically what it actually shakes out to be, but we'll say for the sake of argument that it was about 70% of the questions that I got were network focused, whether that was networking from how the service would be delivered, networking from a security perspective, or networking from an actual like network design. You're dealing with routing protocols or layer two, layer three, um, that type of stuff. There were probably, if I had to guess, 10, maybe 15 questions that were that were more VPN focused. So um, one of the things that I definitely am going to be doing, and I'm because as I was sitting in the exam and reading the question, sometimes I had to read the question 2 and 3 times to really understand to try to wrap my head around what they were asking. And that's one of the reasons why I've never gone down a design route. I've never had a CCDA or a CCDP um, in the past because design is subjective, right? It's not binary, either this way or no way, or um, with the implementation exams, like if you're taking CCNP Encore or an RC or DevNet or whatever, um, where you have are there multiple ways in a networking perspective to get something done? Yes. I commonly joke around. There's a gentleman that I work with who's a sales engineer that I work with, and we jokingly on a regular basis say there's usually always 6 different ways to get something working when it comes to networking, which in most cases is true. So it's just one of those things where um, design is subjective because you, in order to be able to design anything, you need to understand how the technology works from the get-go. And to me, if I didn't have the technical background, and actually, it's funny, the when I walked out of the testing center, there was a gentleman sitting down at a table, or sitting down on a chair by the door, and he goes, "How'd you do?" And I said, "I passed." And he was like, he immediately gave me a fist bump. He goes, "Nice job, man." And there was two gentlemen sitting at a table from Skillsoft that were right there, and um, the I got a pair of socks from Skillsoft, so some of the first swag that I've picked up because I haven't gone through the world of solutions to like all the where they have all the swag and you pick stuff up from the different vendors that are there. I haven't gotten that far with it. I've been tired. Today is actually the was the first actual day of live, so mine was morning session, early afternoon session, and then I did a real slow walk around the world of solutions to see what was out there, maybe kind of prospect some of the areas I want to go check up with. Ran into a few people that I knew and spent some time catching up with them because I don't get to see a lot of you folks on a regular basis. So spent some time chit chatting and stuff like that. But um, when and my test was scheduled at 3:30, and I had just been by the testing center because the testing center was right by where they serve lunch up on the second floor. So I had already seen where the testing center was, so I looked at my watch. It was like 10 to 3. And I'm like, what's the worst thing they can tell me to do? Come back at 3:30 and I just go sit down on my phone for half an hour or pull up my laptop and work on something. Um, so at that point, I decided to go ahead and just, to say the heck with it. I walked up to the check-in area. I was like, "Is it too early to check in? My test is at 3:30," and they're like, "Nope, you're good." And so they went through all um, the steps that they have you go through. The standard Pearson view, make sure your phone is off, take all the stuff out of your pockets, all that good stuff. So did that, sat for the test. Um, it's a big area for the testing center. I didn't look all the way down each row, but there had to be 1,000 people if I had to guess. Um, they're testing. It's a massive room. They literally take an entire like ballroom. It's massive. Um, so, and it's always been that way. From the last time I took the Service Spreader written in 2019 at Live, and uh, which was my fourth attempt, I think. Service Provider written was way more complicated than the DE written. But anyway, I'm kind of squirreling here a little bit. Um, but so the morning session was on. What was my morning session on? I forgot. It was a session on an introduction to the microSID in segment routing, so or the USID as it's commonly referred to. And so now I have an understanding of what that means. Um, so I now have a solid understanding of that piece. And then my afternoon session was an hour-long session on deploying service PP service VPNs over segment routing. And so that was a pretty solid session too. It was very fast paced. It had a demo in it where they took the Crosswork Network Controller, the CNC, and they did a demo where they deployed uh, a SRTE policy from CNC, pushed it down to the PCE, which then pushed it down to the uh, the PE routers that were the PCCs. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, all that type of stuff, don't worry about it. Now that I've seen that, and I have a general idea of what they're looking at, I'm uh, it gives you some insight to what the network can do at a high level, and it's rather fascinating. So I'm going to take a page from the Daniel Dibb, and I'm calling him out on purpose because of the fact of me and him had a lengthy conversation this morning. Um, he and I were in line to get our CCA ribbons this morning, which I believe this is me. Yep, this is me. So I'm gonna cover up some information, but got my ribbons, all that good stuff, and good to go. So uh, he and I were chit chatting about VXLAN because we both have. I have a lot of experience deploying that. So, and that's one of the. I'm sure if anybody's following him, you're following his blog post series. It's been on that. So we were chit chatting about that type of stuff, and um, one of the things that I plan on covering in the near future is a um, soup to nuts on segment routing, and just covering the technology at a high level, and then digging into how you get everything working, stuff like that. So my certification goals as of right now have pivoted to where um, now that I've passed the written exam, I have to wait probably 2 or 3 days for the updates to go through to where I'd be able to go schedule the practical for DE. And as far as I know, would have to travel down to Richardson, Texas, where the CCA lab is held, and just outside Dallas, to go sit for the practical. So before I go do that, I have to go do a thorough reading of Zig's DE book. That's going to be one of the first things that I do. And then the other thing is I'm going to have to go and I'm going to take his book and I'm going to read through it. Plus, I'm going to take the CCNP design exam blueprint, and I'm going to start working my way through all the technologies that are on that, reading up on the documentation for stuff, the design guides, um, implementing how this stuff works to get the pieces in place, stuff like that. So that is going to be something I'm going to start doing, but I'm in no hurry to get there. To me, it's more or less a work through the pieces that I need to work my. Clearly, the where I scored, um, I know where I need to improve, which is really the whole purpose of taking the test at live was it's a free attempt, and since I've passed it and I've got a solid understanding of where improvement is needed, that's the key thing, right? Figure out where you need to improve, work on those areas, and go from there. So there were several questions where I was looking at the question, reading it, and then looking at the answers, and I'm like, it could go either way on some of them. Some answers were more specific than others, and it parts of it were like I really don't remember. So there are some technologies I haven't labbed up in a long time, and so I was going based off of memory of okay, I only took it so far when I was testing out the technology, studying for route switch or service provider. That if I would have taken maybe uh, another, just a little bit further than I had, maybe that would have been enough of a better foundation for my understanding to change my answer. So there's some stuff that I have to go back and test out again because just the more comfortable you are with the technology when you're labbing it up and understanding how it operates will lend itself to you when you get into the design piece of it. So my new goal now is going to be knocking out DE. I have no clue when I'm actually going to get to it. I don't think it's going to be before the end of 2024. It'll probably be sometime first or second quarter of 2025. That'll give me solid amount of time. Plus, it's summertime. We're coming in. It's the beginning of June. Right now I'm in Vegas, so it's quite warm here. As a matter of fact, when I got back, I hadn't eaten a whole lot today, so my wife and I we took off. We went and grabbed dinner, and then we went out, gallivanting around town. Um, Figured, why not, right? I don't have to pass the test. I don't have to sit there and worry about it anymore. My recertification date is now set for mid 2027. So I'm good to go there. The so yeah, that's pretty much where I'm sitting with it. So I'm gonna enjoy my summer. I'm not gonna sit there and worry about certifications and stuff like that. Um, my I still have the intention of going through and knocking out the workbooks and stuff like that. That's I'm going to circle back when I get back home at the towards the middle of the month when I'm back to refocus my time and effort on that and get that done so that I can get that workbook released so you guys can start leveraging it and stuff like that. So um, that's pretty much where my game plan is now, and I'm gonna continue to do some other technology learning. Like I said, I definitely want to dive into Windows Server, some cloud stuff, security, um, stuff like that. Those are some areas that I want to definitely get into because from a architecture perspective, I need to have a solid understanding of multiple platforms and things like that because that's my job role, right? I don't deploy anymore, and so therefore I need to keep that in the back of my mind that I'm not looking to implement. But in order to really understand how things work, you have to test them out to see what works and what doesn't. So any good architect is going to have a solid understanding of what it is that they're implementing. Um, it's even civil engineers, they understand uh, how to build a building and things like that. Even if they've never done it, they have at least the foundational understanding of how stuff works and all that good stuff that goes with it. So, with that being said, that's pretty much my target now. Um, and I was actually having a really good conversation with David Bombel here, and he saw me and he uh, he pulled me aside for a few minutes. Is he he's like, you need to keep doing what you're doing. He's like, uh, there's not many people out in the certification space that are teaching the technology the way that it needs to be taught from the NP and IE level and putting it out there. There seems to be a lot of the vendors that are doing IT training have pivoted to where the what was once the hardcore network training has kind of just fallen to the wayside, and the the whiz bang wow stuff, the AI, the automation, the programmability, um, things like that, the software defined stuff has kind of taken the front seat or the front burner to a lot of that stuff. And he goes, and I completely agree with his point of view. Is the foundational conceptual understanding, that type of stuff is kind of taking a back seat, and you know, there's a lot of people that have the misconception that anybody can be a network engineer as long as they're in front of a GUI and they can click through it. And that is the case if you understand what it is you're implementing. And whether you're in Cisco ACI, Cisco Nexus Dashboard, VMware NSX, or you're in front of the Crosswork Network Controller, or on the APIC, or in a wireless controller, or some other Catalyst Center, um, stuff like that, vManage. So when he and I were talking about it, it's like the hardcore networking stuff that you had to go learn to actually be a network engineer. That kind of stuff is fallen by the wayside, and I completely agree with him. So my goal is to continue to do that type of stuff, and um, I'm gonna. He and I were going back and forth on this for a little bit, and I said I'm gonna pivot the channel that so Broadbreaker's Tech Channel is going to, from the free perspective, is going to be more of a CCNA model, where the it's going to be introductory level stuff, CCNA, that type of stuff. That's going to be more likely to be sought for and things like that. Fundamentals, foundational understanding, that type of stuff, and with the intention that and there's going to be a sprinkling of more technical content that'll get layered in, and with the intention that if you're interested in going deeper and you want to, there will be an area for you to do that, but there's going to be a nominal fee that goes with that, and that's at $25 a month that I've mentioned in the past. And it's, you know, for the longest time I never did that, and I'm um, but the time and effort that it takes to produce the videos and the topology and all that type of stuff, it never got the views that I wanted it to. And I it totally makes sense though, right? YouTube is a platform meant for, you know, it's an entertainment platform. It's never was never intended to be a education or a university style um, learning tool. So, but people put information on YouTube all the time. So, like this video is going to be on YouTube here shortly. The but the bottom line that I'm looking at it as, um, for those that are looking for the basics, I'm planning on going through the CCNA blueprint and putting out a bunch of content around that. But if you want to take it deeper, and there's a good portion of you that do, then great. Then for those that want it, then you'll be able to pay a small amount of money per month. I'm not going to charge you, hundreds of dollars a month or anything like any of the other vendors do. I'm going to make it really affordable for everyone because to me that's the way it should be. You shouldn't be charging 70, 80, $100 a month for access. And I do not believe in the $3,500 or $5,000 for a week long boot camp, or every Saturday for 6 hours for the next 16 weeks. That to me makes zero sense. If you want access to me, or to expert level training, that's what it's going to cost you. And I think it's the best way to handle it because then you'll get access to videos, the workbooks, the coaching sessions and things like that. So I have to still figure out what day the coaching session is going to land on. But as of right now, that's going to still be up in the air. So I'm going to do Whiteboard Wednesday, but the coaching sessions will probably just go to you can schedule it with me and then I'll make it available to you. Well, that's probably the direction I'm going to go with it, but nothing's going to happen with Whiteboard Wednesday or the coaching sessions until I get back from vacation. Because to me, I'm on vacation. Even though I'm having to get up early and I'm at the convention and walking around and things like that, don't have to work. I'm not having to show up to customer meetings or, anything like that. So it gives me a lot of flexibility. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in today. So overall, all the sessions were good. Um, I was able to ask some questions and get some feedback and things like that. I will share the sessions that I was uh, in the description. See if I can't find the numbers of what they were so that you guys can watch the same sessions I went to and things like that. So I have a couple sessions tomorrow that I'm going to be going to, and uh, anytime I'm not in session, I should be in the world of solutions walking around. So if you see me, whether I'm walking around, just call me out. And I had two people do that today. I actually heard my name called. I just was like, somebody call me? I'll go over my shoulder, and sure enough, somebody walked up to me. So I wasn't sure, but I'll stop real quick. And then I thought I heard somebody call my last name, but they were calling out a section of meeting rooms. There's a section called breakers, and I thought I heard Riker, but it was breaker. Um, so I even stopped, turned around, and I was like, nope, no one's talking. So if you see me, there was one guy that pinged me later this afternoon, and I was talking to somebody else, and he overheard me say that I had to get to a session. Um, Even if I say that, don't hesitate to just be like, "Hey, Rob," and I'll take the minute or whatever it is, because you can always walk in late to a session. That they're not going to stop you from walking in unless you weren't already registered to your session and you're hoping that there's space. So if the session's already full and there's no space for you, then they're going to, not let you enter. But if you didn't register for a session and you show up to it and there's space available after all the registered people have shown up and the session has started, they're going to let you in. So I've never worried about that. So if you see me walking around, don't be afraid to walk up and shout me out. Or if you uh, hit me up inside of the chat. I've had probably 4 or 5 people hit me up on chat inside of the Cisco Events app and message me and be like, "Hey, I'd love to, find a time and a place." Um, so I have been kind of hovering when I'm down there in the World of Solutions. I have been hovering around the Cisco store. So I hang out there. A lot of the Cisco Press authors show up there. So I know a few of them personally. So I tend to hang around there. The certification lounge is actually very, very small this year compared to the years in the past where it was pretty wide open. I'm not exactly sure why they did that, but they did. But I also noticed that there's a huge area for DevNet, and that they're trying to push development. They're going to make room for it, so it totally makes sense. But that's pretty much where I'm going to draw the line here with that. So I don't really have anything else to chat about today, but if you guys have any questions, as soon as this video renders and all that type of stuff, I'll share it out. Um, it's a little bit longer. It's probably going to take a long time to upload because I'm on hotel Wi-Fi and I'm not at home on my high-speed internet. So this will get uploaded it probably will be available tomorrow morning because I'm about to go to bed because the morning sessions come early and there's a lot. It's a big day, so if you guys have anything going on you guys want to chat about, put it in the comment section. We can hash that type of stuff out. So like I said, if you see me, don't be afraid to hesitate to come up and say hi. It's part of where the reason I'm there is to see you guys and all that type of stuff. So with that being said, you guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll catch all of y'all in the next video.